Welcome, everybody, to another week here on the Whiskeyed Gingers podcast. I'm Brandon. That's Chris. And we're back outside. It's been, probably 3-4 months we've been able to do one out here.
We had like one warm day in the winter, I feel like, where we were out here.
Yeah.
It was like an abnormally warm day, and we kind of did the same thing that we did here. It was like, why not get out and enjoy it?
Yeah, there might have been a rare, unseasonably warm day. Today's probably still technically unseasonably warm. I mean, it is only early March in the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, we got up to like 70-something degrees today,
It
so
was
like
so
that was
nice.
pretty good. The nighttime temps are still going to be low for a while, so I think like you really only get that golden temperature, I'd say, from probably like 11 to 3.
Yeah,
Somewhere around there. That's like where it was really nice today. It's definitely cooling off now,
it is.
but it's still
feels
very.
like-
I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it feels like we're still probably like, I don't know, 50s or something.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty comfortable. And you know what? When it's been so cold, anything feels warmer than that. It's like it's at 20 degrees all of a sudden now. It feels like it's 60 out when it's really only 50.
That is the funny part. Like, if you got to figure, if it was like July and we had a day in the 50s, everybody would be like jackets
Oh,
on,
it'd be
sweats, bundled up.
freezing. Yeah, that's like the first couple cold days of fall. You're like, oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
brutal outside. And it's really only like 50.
But then when it breaks, it's like 50 degrees. Like, oh, I wonder how the beach is crowded today or something. You're ready to
Exactly.
just start acting a fool and sit out in the sand.
Yeah, but we're happy to be back. We're happy to have Brandon back. He was
Yeah.
a little under the weather for a little bit there, so
We've been taking turns being sick.
naturally this time of the year.
Yeah, so Chris was down for a while, and then we kind of like waited till the last second. I was like, Tuesday, I knew I was bad, but I was, you know what, maybe we'll rally. And then Wednesday morning, Chris was like, hey man, how you feeling? I'm like, this isn't something that's going to be solved in the next 8 hours, so let's just push it rather than do a virtual episode. And it ended up working out because it's so much more fun doing it live.
You needed some serious R&R is really what it came down to. So
I couldn't get through a sentence. Like,
Yeah.
It was one of those kind of deals.
amazing. Well, I'm happy to have you back.
Yes,
We're going to get going with it today. We got an awesome whiskey. The story with this one was I was going to get something else. It was going to be another bourbon because we've kind of been enjoying the bourbons, and my local store has been getting a lot of cool ones in. But every now and again, we like to go back to our roots. So we're going to be reviewing Busker Irish whiskey today. Pretty cool looking bottle. Kind of like it there. So this guy right here is a 44.3%. It's the traditional Irish whiskey in the sense that it's triple distilled. So it's following after the Jameson model and everything like that. What I also found interesting in it, it is bottled or matured in bourbon casks and sherry casks.
Okay.
So it should have a little bit of an interesting flavor to it. While it is probably going to be sweet for an Irish whiskey, I think it's also going to have a little bit of smoke to it.
Have we had it's a single pot still also? Now, I'm not a scientist, but I watched a lot of moonshiners.
I feel like we have had a single pot still before, and I think oddly enough, it might have been another Irish whiskey that did it. So I'll be curious to see how that goes.
I'm just excited to have an Irish whiskey again. And if you remember last episode, I'm excited to have ice once again because I did not give last week's whiskey a fair chance because I had to drink it warm.
That was a tough one for you. I do feel like you still liked it, though.
I liked it as much as I could given the circumstances. I just don't like room temperature to warm liquors.
This is wrapped up like Fort Knox, dude. It's like really
we're
in there.
I saw we're fighting through it.
All right, we got it. We are
almost there.
Almost there.
I mean, you can probably open it now.
I like getting all the plastic.
Okay.
So looks pretty good. We'll give it a little cork pop, see how we're going.
Not bad.
Not too bad.
Not bad.
So, nice drop. It smells good. I think we're actually going to like this a lot.
I'm looking forward to it. It's hard. We're hard pressed to find an Irish whiskey that we haven't had before because there's just not that many. There's way more. When you go to the store, I find that the bourbon aisle is triple the Irish whiskey aisle.
It is, and then that's the tricky thing because in this area, when we look for the Irish whiskeys, it's like the same 4 or 5 bottles, and we've tried them at this point, which is tricky.
Yeah.
So
when we found Four Walls, it was kind of a big deal because it was finally something new, and then that was the last new one we've had.
That was a hit.
Quite a while.
Yeah. I thought Four Walls was delicious. So I'm curious to try this. Give this a smell because I'm curious to get your first thoughts on it as soon as it's got a very interesting smell, probably unlike most that we've smelled.
It's got a real sweet smell to it,
but there is definitely some
a little bit of
bourbon oak in there.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited to try this one.
This one smells different than I think any Irish whiskey I've smelled.
I agree.
So I think we're in for a ride.
Cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers. Huh. I like that. I like that a lot. It smells the way it tastes. It tastes different than most Irish whiskeys.
It does. It definitely tastes different than most Irish whiskeys, but in a good way, like in a complimentary way.
It doesn't have that syrupy feel that sometimes Irishes do.
I've had an issue with Irish whiskeys recently, and this is terrible because it really is our roots.
Yeah.
Some of them have genuinely just started feeling too sweet to me.
Yeah.
Like I can still do Jameson. I think the Jameson like still is. It's a heavy hitter for me. Like you can really have it on multiple occasions, and it never really disappoints.
But like a cheaper, lower end Irish whiskey, I see your point.
They're too sweet and syrupy for me right now. However, this one actually is really good. I think that
awesome.
It gives enough of that flavor outside of the sweet. The sweet is almost the undertone here, and the rest of the flavor is kind of doing the talking for it.
Yeah, the sweet hits you first, briefly.
Exactly.
And then the rest of the experience is almost that of like a bourbon whiskey hybrid kind of feel.
I tend to agree with you.
I'm trying to see.
There's not really much on the back of it as far as notes go. While I'm going to look up some tasting notes for it. I want you to think about what you think the price is on it, because this one's actually a really good one.
Okay. Yeah, there's not much here. I mean, the one cool part is everything is done under one roof. So we've seen some where, there's like, it has different like distillation processes.
Correct.
Places.
Yeah, this one's like start to finish Busker.
Same
like,
place.
yeah, no, it's awesome. I love that.
So that's pretty neat.
So what are you thinking on price on this?
Well, you already said it's a pretty good one. So I'm thinking I'm going to be impressed. I would personally buy this whiskey even if it was like $45 to $50.
Okay.
But I know it's less than that, or else you wouldn't have said it.
Well, it's funny that your brain goes in that direction because you could have taken it one of two ways. You took it in the way that I meant, because our brains are alike, in the sense I'm saying it's a good buy.
Yeah.
What you could have been misled to think is it was a good quality, which it still is, but I think it's a good buy.
Yeah.
Correct. I got it on sale for $34.99.
Okay.
I think if it's normal price, it's probably no more than $40, which I think is a really appropriate price for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really impressive whiskey to keep on hand for not breaking the bank. I mean,
correct.
We talk about JMO all the time, but depending on where you get it, I mean, JMO is high 20s, low 30s, depending on the size of the bottle.
Yep.
And that's something everybody has. It's not, it's not a talking piece, but you can have like unique Irish whiskey that tastes different than anyone I've ever had for $35.
I'm really happy that this exists because it really like reignites my passion to find some Irish whiskeys that will bring me back to like what I liked about Irish whiskeys. And I mean, it's almost like a hypocritical or like double-edged sword statement, because it's like, I'm saying I like it because it's an Irish whiskey, but it's also unlike other Irish whiskeys. But maybe it's just that the other ones went too far in the other direction. And that could be totally true.
And there's something to be said for like part of the reason we try so many bourbons is that we did kind of get to a point where all the Irish whiskeys started to kind of blend together.
Sure,
so it's exciting to kind of find out that there's still new horizons of Irish whiskey out there that we haven't had yet.
Yep. And then I pulled up the tasting notes for this, so I'm going to run through them because I think we have kind of talked about what we feel.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say like the specifics, but we kind of have the gist of what it is.
Okay.
So it's saying that its aroma for smell is fresh flowers, honey, oak, fudge, and clove oil.
Honey and oak, I could see. I don't know what clove oil smells like.
I don't either. The fudge I could kind of get like with the little bit of sweet that's in there.
A little bit.
The taste is intense spices, peppery notes, and balanced with toffee, which I think is actually super accurate because the spices and the peppery is like way up front.
Yeah.
You're getting that like almost immediately. And then you have the toffee like sweet taste in the end, which I think makes a lot of sense too.
I think that's one of my friends. Thanks for tuning in, Mason. I'm not going to read your comment on the pod because we have family that listens to this.
Mason, amazing. Thank you for your comment.
That's Mason from Maine, everybody.
I appreciate Mason from Maine's comment. It also has a finish of long, warm, and richly spiced, with notes of distilled in copper stills with complex flavor profile. That's a little too in the woods for me.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I got
all that is a little bit too complex for us. But what I do like is that the peppery flavors do come through right away. Like the spicy peppery flavors comes through right away, and that sweet is on the back end. And man, You wear it like a blanket. This is
Yeah.
a really delicious whiskey.
It's
super
really good stuff. So I'm glad you went out and found it.
Mhm.
And it's perfect for a day like today
Mhm.
because we're recording late because initially I was late because I had a long day at work. And then, but when I got here, I was like, oh, I'm going to be late for dinner. We always do like kind of the deal is when like whichever one of us hosts, cooks a big dinner, everybody comes over and eats or whatever. So this time was Chris and our producer Morgan's turn to do dinner. And I show up and they're building a grill. Like the vehicle to cook dinner is in a box on the ground. So we had to quick throw the grill together and then cook dinner on it. Just
It was quite
elongating an
something.
already long day.
Well, I mean, we had an amazing. It was like one of those old reliable grills.
Yeah.
We had it. It was given to us by a family friend when we moved into our house 4 years ago, and the thing served us incredibly well. I mean, you really couldn't ask for more for like a free grill.
No.
And naturally, after the winter, I crack it open, get ready on a nice day like today to give it a run, and all the burners are totally rusted out and disintegrated to all hell. Yeah. Granted, I could have like been wrapping it up after each season, but the grill was free and it was so old, it really didn't matter. It probably had 10 years on it before we got it.
Exactly.
But
he does that anyway.
Now we got a new one. It's going to serve us for a long time. I'll take better care of this one. And it cooked a good first meal.
It did. No, first meal was great. But it was amusing putting it together because we were in a hurry to do it. And it was one of those things where, I don't know about you. You're a more thorough person than I, just based on our career choices. But like when I'm building something, I take a crack at it first, and then when that doesn't work, you go back to the directions.
Sure.
And it felt like as we were doing this, like there was propane hookups, there was electrical hookups. It was always all right. Let's try it on our own. That didn't work. All right, go get the directions.
I agree. I think we were kind of going by the seat of our pants here for a little bit, and that's fine. And to be fair, when it was just Morgan and I doing it, we were trying to follow the directions, or at least she was. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing a really funny thing the other day, and it was like a wife talking about her husband, and or even boyfriend, doesn't matter. Yeah. They're like, oh, my significant other is usually right. I just don't like their tone. That's like what they say. Like the older I get, the more I find out that my significant other is usually right. I just don't like the way they said it.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally true because while building this grill, she definitely walked away a few times when I was saying, that's not right. We need to do it this way.
Because in the moment, you're so certain. But when if you were to zoom out and look at just these two people objectively, one of them is actively looking at a diagram, reading the manual,
correct,
going, no, A goes into B, and the other person's like, no, you're fucking wrong. A goes into C. I'm looking at it.
That literally was what was happening.
Yeah.
And what's funny, I'll also say one funny thing about like building stuff nowadays. I think the directions are way better now than they've ever been. I mean, there's even like QR codes and stuff that you can get to get like online 3D instructions and manuals and everything else. But what I will say, I get worried about quality of things these days because I feel like things are made to break. I don't think that's my opinion. I think that's just kind of true. So like we're putting this thing together, and before it really started coming together, I'm like, this thing is a piece of garbage. Like, it was all flimsy. It was all flimsy. I mean, like the more we started putting it together, it like started to really sure up. And I actually think it's like a pretty decent grill. Mm-hmm. But when I was putting the first couple pieces together, I'm like, well, look at this garbage. Like,
oh yeah, dude, I am right. Like anytime I put something together, especially if I buy it like this and it comes in pieces, I always wind up like thinking I know more than the manufacturer. So like if two holes aren't lining up or if something's kind of wobbly, like I'm in there with power tools. Like I'm tapping,
let me just make my own.
Yeah, I'm tapping new holes and stuff. Like there's stuff in my house where I would get like a coffee table that's supposed to go together with those little like wooden pegs and shit.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm like, well, this is never gonna work. So I'm in there with like 3.5-inch construction screws.
Oh, dude, those little like cams that they give you in like IKEA furniture are the worst. You like hammer them and but if you twist them 91 degrees, they just completely fall apart.
That's when you start breaking out the construction grade material.
Yeah, those are rough. And then you realize when you try and put a wood screw through basically cardboard, it doesn't really work that well.
Or it strips,
I remember I cut into one of those IKEA tops one time, like a countertop. We were doing like one of those IKEA hack things when they were real big. And I cut in one of those tops and my mind was blown when I realized it was literally just diamonds of cardboard on the inside.
There's nothing to it.
Like there's literally no structure to this at all.
No.
And I don't get it. I mean, it makes sense. You're getting like these very affordable pieces of furniture, but the reason they're affordable is because they're quite literally made out of cardboard.
Oh my god, yeah. Like there's been times where like I've helped a couple buddies move into places and they're like, yeah, can you put together like this couch or something? And like they'll come back in and I have a multi-tool out. And they're like, how did we end up here? No, they were wrong.
There's no furniture going in my house right now that I can't sand and refinish.
Yeah.
If I can't do that, it's not like going in the house.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trusting like the Swedes are great at meatballs. I'm not trusting them with plug and play furniture.
When I got like real big into IKEA, or at least when I discovered IKEA, I feel like everybody knew about it before I did. And I guess I always knew it existed, but I had never been to one.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, the first time I had been to an IKEA was like around COVID time.
Okay.
So it was kind of crappy because everybody was talking up this like food court nook thing that they have at IKEA.
That is
and I couldn't go because during COVID they had it closed. So like it never really, like, to me it was just a giant warehouse and like it was fine.
Now the food court's a game changer. Because they put it at the turn. It's almost like now that you've been, it's kind of like a golf course. Like,
yeah.
You go through like 3 levels, hit the food court, and then you backtrack. Mm-hmm. So just when you're about to kill each other, you get some food and you cooler heads prevail, and then you go back through IKEA again.
I love how they just really like it's the one place. So like when you are food shopping, this is a great parallel. I'm gonna grab some of that. When you are food shopping, how do you food shop? Like what's your tactic going in? To food shopping.
I like to food shop solo. It's like I go in the morning on Sundays. Nobody's there. It's like super peaceful in my
sure.
Because I enjoy cooking and I do a lot of the cooking. So like I like to walk around and there is no method to the madness. Like
you're like bouncing aisle to aisle. Like I forgot something in there. Like go from there.
Yeah. So pretty much like I'll walk in. First thing I do because I shop every week. So I shop for my dinners that week because. I mean, breakfast is whatever, and then we're both at work for lunch. So I go right to the proteins.
Sure.
Pick out my 5 dinners for that week. From there on, I'm wandering. I'm like, I'll walk into the pasta section, and I'll kind of think, like, oh, I just got ground beef. I could do homemade meatballs. I'll do this, that, and the other thing. Then I'll pop over to the veggies. Like, maybe this veggie medley goes good with cod. But, like, it's after the proteins are scheduled, everything else is just me wandering around.
So I'm very systematic. Okay.
So like, no fun to go with.
No, I'm Morgan hates going to the grocery. Well, she likes going to the grocery store with me because I can pick out what I want. Mm-hmm. But I don't like going to the grocery store because when I go to the grocery store, I'm like, I need to go into these 3 aisles and that is it.
Now
and
you
like
gotta wander. You gotta discover things.
I am in and out.
No.
So what I find funny about IKEA is it's the one place that was designed for people that like to shop like you like to shop.
Yes.
Because it bobs and weaves you through every single thing in that store. They specifically design their aisles or their roadways, I guess you could call them, to make sure you see the most amount of stuff physically possible. And every time I go to IKEA, the limited times I do, they have those shortcut passageways. You can guarantee where's the household items going right through? Where's the bedding going right through? I am not like bobbing and weaving through IKEA on that normal path. That's where everybody goes, and I definitely am not doing that.
No, I like the wandering. I like painting my masterpiece aisle by aisle.
Oh my gosh, it gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
No,
I'm like, no, I can't do it.
I'm not on a schedule. Like that's why I don't like going when I have to hurry. That's why I like.
Well, if you're by yourself,
Sunday morning,
you have that time.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. You're cruising around. Everything. They're just putting stuff out.
Yeah. And if you're by yourself, then you have that opportunity to kind of do that. And I feel like I'm always, for no reason at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it's like an ADD thing or something. I don't know, but like I'm always have a timetable in my mind.
Well, yeah, if you create one, then
that's what I'm just thinking. I'm like, oh, I got this to do later, so like I better get this done quick. But that's always how I've been.
My meals for the week suffer when I do that. Like we used to shop online and have like Instacart, not like bring it to us, but like you pull it out front and they bring it.
And they just put it in there.
Hated it.
I don't like that either because I like to pick my own produce and stuff like that. I don't like people picking like my bananas and stuff for me.
That part didn't bother me, but like I'm so visual. Like I need to be in the grocery store. Like it's like a beautiful mind. Mm-hmm. Like I'm walking around with all like the numbers in my head, going, "Oh, yeah, we need this and then this, and that'll pair with that." And I'm looking on the app. It's not the same.
They have those. So like speaking of the pulling up and them like delivering the stuff to you, I always thought it funny. We did that for ShopRite for a while, especially during like COVID times or whatever. Like when they were limiting like people going, all like the 9 yards. So we were doing like those pickups. And I remember it's really funny. If they had something they didn't have, they would say like, "Are you okay with a substitute for this?" But like, if you said yes, it wasn't yes. I'd like to substitute my Pepperidge Farms bread for this bread.
No,
it was just like whatever the hell that person
Yes.
feels like, they're gonna substitute it with.
Yes.
So I'm like, that seems a little like reckless.
Yeah, we've been screwed on that on so many occasions because you also it's not a price lock.
No.
Like you pay for whatever
Yep.
they choose. I forget what we got jammed up on. It was something like, oh, it's this fish deal like these cod we used to like. It was 2 for $10.
Yeah.
So her and I could eat dinner for $10 plus sides.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, we're out of this cod, like the substitute. And this guy, and like they got us like Branzino. So I was like, this is $24. Like, you don't get to make those choices.
we did that with steak. There was like a prime rib or something,
Yeah.
and we asked them to pick it for us. And they're like, well, what size do you want? And Morgan made the famous last words of like, surprise us. They gave us like the largest prime rib they had in the store. I swear it was like a $40 prime rib.
Well
I'm
played,
like,
Giant.
what the hell?
Which I don't get. Like, I mean, it's probably just like some like high school stoner picking this stuff out. They're not on commission. So what
benefit do you get at a break in my bank off giving me a prime rib that's that big?
Where's the solidarity? Like,
maybe they just like to watch the world burn.
I don't drive up the prices on your bud. Don't get me expensive steaks.
I don't know. Maybe indirectly we are somehow.
I guess.
Who knows?
Bringing it back to this whole thing started with assembling grills and assembling furniture. I think now this is just my recommendation. I think those days are behind you at this point. Because now you have the resources available with the new truck to buy display units.
You know what? It's funny that you say that because if I didn't live in the middle of nowhere and there was a Home Depot or a Lowe's a little bit closer, that would be a lot easier because they pre-build like 20 of them and they set them out front. However, I will tell you, I think I build them better than they do. But
all you got to do is tighten some bolts.
Exactly. But I had to settle and go to Walmart, which already made me skeptical getting a grill from Walmart. But I know they sell this brand at Home Depot anyway, so I'm not really that worried about it.
Yeah, like I haven't built furniture. I mean, I think I built 2 things in our house furniture wise. Everything else, because I have a truck too. We would go to Bob's Discount Furniture, and like they'd offer like, oh, we have this brand new one in the box. Give me that one. People sat on it, put it in the truck.
Yep.
I would rather have a couple of strangers sit on my couch than have to build it from scratch. I'll back it up. You guys throw it in. Let's get the show on the road.
Having the truck has been life-changing already. Like I've only had it for like a month, and
you'll never not have one.
Yeah. Now every time I'm like, man, it would be nice if like I knew somebody that had a truck. I'm like, wait, I have a truck.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want with that now, and it shocks me that it's taken me this long to get one, especially given my profession.
Yeah.
So like that really is weird.
When you bought the new cars a couple years ago, I was stunned you didn't make the switch at that point.
Yeah. It worked out though in the end because I was able to like trade both of those cars in for the truck, and we got a pretty good deal on it. But oddly enough, my car almost had 100,000 miles on it. Yeah. It was at like 99 something. They said had I waited like 2 weeks and it would have hit 100, my resale value on it would have crashed. Like,
which is bullshit.
Like 2-3 grand less. I'm like, most cars make it to like 250, 300,000 miles without even blinking.
That's so outdated.
100,000 miles means nothing. I get it from like the industry standard, but cars run forever. Like, my dad had a Toyota Tacoma that made it to 300,000 miles. He had a Toyota Corolla that almost made it to 300,000 miles.
Tacomas are bulletproof.
And his Solara right now, which is basically a Camry, is at like 260 something.
Yeah, they're tough as nails. There's a reason Jihad loves them.
No, their Toyotas are definitely bulletproof for sure. I mean, I still like my American-made like vehicles and trucks, but like you really can't beat some of that. Like some of those Toyotas are just so bulletproof. Yeah. They're probably rated one of the most reliable vehicles on the market.
What's kind of stupid, and I'm the same way. Like we both bought GM vehicles. Like I was Chevy and Chris bought a GMC. What's interesting is neither one of our trucks were built in the U.S. and Toyotas are manufactured in Texas.
They ship all the parts and then go from there. So we got American parts going to foreign countries to get built for American-made vehicles, but we have foreign car companies shipping them to America to have them built. Yeah.
So even though I'm the same way, like I didn't want to buy a Toyota truck, it felt wrong. They're also built in the heartland of America.
Yeah.
We both have Mexican pickup trucks.
I do like the Tundras are pretty cool. They're a little like beefy on the front end for me, just like look-wise. But I think that there's nothing wrong with them at all. I do like my little step going into the back of my car, though.
Dude, I wish you could find a way to take this pod mobily because
Yeah.
Chris got one of the trucks with the old man step, where like I mean it is.
You put like 2 little couches in the back of that thing, hang out.
Truck owners of yesteryear would be so disappointed. Like, all the old men who had like the old Ford with the bench seat and they had to hop in and out. And they see you pull up your little hand stool.
Well, so it's like it goes one step further. I think the step is really cool and it's super functional. I've already used it a bunch.
Yeah.
But what really kills me is there's quite literally a fold out hand
That's
bar
the best part
that you can use, and I'm like, this is so helpful. It's insane, but I can't help but feel like an 80-year-old man.
You got to do it when no one's
looking.
looking.
Yeah, I'm like, when there's like young guys around me, I'm not pulling
You gotta
this
hop
thing
in.
out. I'm not pulling this thing out.
Nah,
But
you couldn't go to a game or a tailgate or something and then pull out your little old man hand.
I'll tell you what, though, speaking of a tailgate, you can pop that top third of it down, and it's a perfect beer shelf.
I think when I looked at it, they have 2 circles too that's like designed to put drinks on.
I think it is like that. There also is a feature on it on the really high-end upgraded models where they have speakers on the bottom of it as well. So like while you're tailgating, you have speakers there plus the shelf.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of neat.
If they didn't want you to be drinking and driving, they should make it harder. It really feels like they're leading you in that direction.
Yeah. No, they're telling you to drink when you're there. They're not telling you to then get.
Well, then how the hell are you getting home, Chris?
I don't know, TD or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you're staying where you're driving to.
Yeah, they shouldn't have like party cup holders on trucks. Sorry.
That's hysterical. Well, I will say we did get a later start, so I think we might get a slightly later or an earlier end here.
I got another 40 minutes on the back end of this.
Exactly, but we appreciate your guys' patience when we got started here. We got a good story with the grill out of it.
This was a sensational Irish whiskey.
Oh, I agree. For all you guys out there, please try the Busker Irish whiskey. Get it in frame there a little bit there. Definitely a very solid pick. I would give this one a very high rating. I'd say we're easily like an 8 out of 10 on this one, especially for the price.
It's better than JMO for sure, which is kind of the standard for Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
And it might even be. I'm going to go home and try a glass of 4 Walls because it might even be better than 4 Walls.
I think your main one that you could probably compete here, and it's a different price bracket, so it's not fair. I don't know if it touches writer's tiers as much, but it's
not
up
that
there.
far.
It's up there for sure.
Yeah, so give Busker a try.
Yep.
But yeah, until next time, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully it's warm enough. We'll be back at the bar studio.
Yeah.
With a brand new whiskey and some more stories to get into. But until then, I'm Brandon. He's Chris. We're the Whiskey Gingers.
Thanks, guys.